So here's the reality. We've had a full day, over 100 speakers. My 5 friends here are going to take a seat. And my goal is to facilitate a memorable last panel. Now, what I just said to the 5 folks up here, we're talking about the future of NFTs. That's our goal. And we don't have much time. We have to keep it very short. And all of you here that are in this room and upstairs and all around get the joy of hearing this live. The folks that are watching or listening to the live stream, same thing. But the reality is that we're speaking about the future. By what they say, it will manifest things in your heart that will create what is developed in the next month and year and decade. And ideally, some of these things that are said spark a seed that creates something great. For the 5 of you, Mike, we'll start with you. We'll just go across. Please, quick introduction, who you are, and after the last introduction, then I'll come in with some questions.
Great. Hi, everybody. Thanks for sticking around to the bitter end. Michael Casey's my name. I am the Chief Content Officer at CoinDesk. That's a relatively recent appointment. Before that, I was a journalist at a number of years before at the Wall Street Journal, did some time at MIT, launched a company called Streambed, which is all about sort of reviving digital media, and I'm happy to be back here at NFT NYC. This is my second appearance, so thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Billy Rennekamp. I'm involved in a lot of projects, most recently and most focused on Cosmos Network. I'm also the founder of Clover's Network, an NFT project that launched last August, author of EIP 1433, the refungible token, previously doing work with Gnosis and Aragon Black.
My name is Brian Christensen. I'm the founder of Block Cities, blockcities.com, not to be confused with .co. We are focused on fractionalization of physical assets.
Hi, my name is Adrian Krion. I'm the founder of Chainwise, and we build Wombat Wallet, which is a super easy onboarding solution for blockchain, currently EOS. And we also build Chain Clash, where we make celebrities into playable characters. And thanks for the pitch, Travis and Joel.
And hi, I'm Topper Bowers, and my team and I are building Tupelo, which is a smart layer 1 platform built entirely for and around NFTs.
All right, well, again, I'm Ian Utile, and I was riding around here, and there's 2 cops coming my way in a tight corridor. I thought, I'm in trouble. I'm getting a ticket this time, and the cop looked at me and says, what's the future like, bro? So my first question for all of you is, what is the future of NFTs like? Michael, take it away.
I don't know. When I come to these events, I feel like it could go anywhere. There's just so many different projects working. Look, I think that just because the stuff that strikes me that's interesting, or at least kind of catching my attention, are those where there is an intersection between the existing economy and this sort of brave new world. And seeing the way that brands are actually sort of starting to figure out how to engage with audience, how to engage with their customers, how to sort of bring more value through NFTs that allow them to, essentially build a much more engaged relationship. Lots of different names popping up at this event of sort of big name digital media brands and the like, sports, everything else. I find that to be, just. It's not necessarily the most exciting because it's not going to save the world, but there's this wonderful aspect of traction that you see coming with that. It's just connecting with the real economy that I find kind of interesting.
Go ahead, Billy.
In a way, I hope they disappear, and not in the way you might think, but really what we're talking about is low-level standards protocols for a technological format. And we all sort of pull together on the different use cases, and we come together under this banner of NFTs. But I think what real success looks like is that that protocol level is abstracted to the point that people are interacting with products. They're no longer caring exactly what the protocol is that makes it happen underneath. It's like SSL inside your browser. You don't really need to know how it works. What you know is that you're receiving, a higher quality product than unencrypted transactions on your browser. So whether it's for collectibles or whether it's for financial assets, it's like that should be abstracted and disappear, and you should just focus on the product that you're using and knowing that it has some sort of heightened quality of security or integrity.
So, there's been a lot of talk today about digital collectibles, and I definitely agree there's a massive future in that realm as well as gaming as well. What I feel like ultimately the future, what I'm excited about is the convergence between the digital and the physical worlds. So we can actually take an asset, split up into little pieces, and ultimately tokenize it. You know, if you fast forward far enough into the future, what you're going to see is what I consider to be semi-autonomous creation. So actual construction projects that are programmed in such a way where the people that are backing it can basically ultimately lead to a series of steps, you know, that ends up in a physical asset. And that physical asset obviously can generate revenue, which goes back to the investors.
Adrian.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talks about collectibles, and you said it right. And I think that if we're all successful collectively, then all these NFTs are going to become real assets, and they're going to be investable. And VCs, we had it on an earlier panel, VCs are going to invest in NFTs actually, not necessarily collectibles, but there's going to be NFTs which are actual assets which can be used, and Alex has been talking about it, which can be used as a collateral, which are very versatile in terms of how they can be used for real world things, right? And so they're actually effectively going to become something like fungible tokens, and how fungible tokens like Bitcoin have been used, also as financial products. And I'm very much looking forward to that, because actually exactly that convergence that people who have collected sneakers, they've collected only sneakers, and now because they're digital and they can collect digital sneakers, they have the same way of collecting stuff, whether that's sneakers or in-game items, and I really appreciate that. I really like that.
So I actually think that the future is everything, I guess, which is that eventually all objects, both digital and real world, will be represented in some way in an NFT form, and that that's going to be an amazing way for us just to interact in this digital world. And what we're really talking about here is an interoperable standard of everything, and eventually we're going to build that out, and it's just going to take time. And the stuff that we're doing now is the first step, but it ends with everything interacting in that way.
So when I ride this board around, I have one rule and only one rule, and that is I cannot fall. That's my only rule. As long as I don't fall, I'm happy riding the board around. My question for all of you as you think about the future, what is your one rule? What's the one rule that you're telling your teams? Like, hey, listen, this is our guiding line. We must be mindful of this as we're developing the future, either developing it through media, developing it through programming. What's the one rule that's kind of a guiding principle for you that you think this community should also adopt? Michael, take it away.
Well, I think it goes a little bit to over-promising. I think that I look at this. I'm not a developer. I know these guys are going to give you a lot of details on what and how scalable the tech is. I'm thinking more from the economics and the marketing part of things. And I think that just generally, having been watching the crypto space for the last sort of 6-7 years now, and watching these bubbles and they burst and everything else, I'm very mindful of the fact that, I mean, on one hand, I come to this event and I just love the enthusiasm. I see all of that early Bitcoin fervor now playing out in this space, and I think it's great because the ideas are fantastic. But I think that out of that can also come this risk of just over-promising, and then we've seen the wave in the blockchain space now. I mean, there are companies that are working on blockchain solutions who don't want to talk about it because the public perception is that blockchains are scams and bubbles and everything else, right? So I think being wary of the marketing message such that you're experimenting with a small enough scale now to prove it out, build it out, figure out what the right sort of positioning and messaging is, because if it's all just a bunch of utopian hype that ends up just crashing down, recovering from that's going to take a lot longer than we think. So that would be my biggest warning.
Billy, please.
Yeah, I'm totally in line with that. A motto that we use while designing a lot of our technology is safety over liveness, and that's very relevant specifically to the consensus mechanism Tendermint about how the different states that the chain can be in, but as a larger concept, I think it really applies, and it's sort of approach things with technological integrity and safety in mind about not trying to build something that you can't stop, trying to build something that's going to do exactly what you say it's going to do, approaching it incrementally, not trying to misalign the incentives, not trying to get people in here to be bag holders, start small incrementally and do things that you're sure of one step at a time.
So, my objective is solve major problems and then turn the world into a playground, ultimately. Right now, our planet as a whole is on this trajectory where, while things are moving exponentially from a technological perspective, sustainability is definitely something that we need improvement on. And so, I think it was Scott that mentioned one of the earlier little talks about building things that people actually need or want, things that are useful. And so, I look at it from a perspective of what does the planet need? We all need water, food, housing, energy, right? And so being able to create a vehicle that allows people to invest in their own infrastructure, where they can just buy a little piece and, basically encourage a more sustainable future. Because without it, we can make all the cool games in the world, but, if we can't play them, it's worthless, so.
Go ahead.
We focus a lot on UX because, if you want to go from 5 or 10,000 DAUs, which we currently see in the top blockchain games, to 5 to 10 million DAUs, which is Fortnite, then the games and all the dApps and whatever we build has to be usable, and it has to resemble kind of the usability that we have in the classic Web 2.0. And it's not easy, and I think we all know that it's not easy to build experiences which resemble the same kind of ease of use that we have in the old world. But this is exactly what we all need to strive for, because people don't care. Like the average users, they don't care as much about technology. It's nice that we have it. It's great that we have NFTs and that here in this room we can talk about NFTs. But the average user, they don't care about blockchain. They don't even care about the internet, right? They just want to use it. They don't want to know how it works. They don't want to know how money works. And most of the people don't know how money works, right? So also they may not want to know how NFTs work and whether they run on Ethereum or an Engine or an EOS or whatever. So we need to make these cool things that we're building as usable as possible so that we can reach the masses and actually get them to benefit from the cool things that we're building. And so this is what I keep telling everybody in Chainwise, that we have to focus on ease of use and UX.
Yeah, and I'll probably be a little repetitive here, and I think what we're all kind of saying is authenticity, right? When I joined this space, it was because I was trying to build a company. I bought into the whole hype, and I was like, oh yeah, blockchain is doing all this stuff in the future. And I came in and I tried to use some of these tools, a few years ago, and it was like, oh man, this is not actually going to work for the business. And I think that's what, as an industry, we need to okay, this works, right? You can use this today, and that's kind of what we try and drive from our team. Is when we talk about things, these are things that you can do now, not in the future after we build a bunch of stuff.
So one of the things about telling people about something they've never experienced before is the ability to paint pictures in their mind. And so I live in Santa Cruz in the San Francisco Bay Area by the ocean. My company's in Puerto Rico, in another beautiful place. And I can tell people how amazing it is to be at the beach, or how incredible it is to ride this board at the beach. Can you articulate a future that is amazing for people that are watching? What can this space be like in 10 years? Maybe somebody's never been to the ocean or ridden a board, but I can tell them about it and get them to buy in. So for last 30 seconds per person, think as far out as you can. What is this going to look like? What is this going to feel like? Why does it matter? Michael, please.
Well, I think the biggest crisis facing the world is the climate crisis, and so a lot of these ideas that sort of apply some of this technology to nature itself, and figure out ways for it to almost regrow itself, like this sort of incentive models that can be built into an asset that is tied to almost ownership by a tree itself. That idea of a kind of a self-perpetuating, re-incentivized natural model is out there, but that's exciting to me.
Billy, please, take us to the future.
We really are developer focused. We think that the next sort of stage is going to be from entrepreneurs and developers who are able to utilize the tech. And in a lot of ways, the story that I find most appealing is also one of the most humble stories, which is you're a developer. Everything is the same as it has been, except for now you actually have value as a primitive inside of your programming language. And that seems like a very small thing, but it's a fundamental shift in the way products can be built, and it really opens up a massive potential for new apps, products, whatever. But that's really sort of the pin that all this hangs off of for me, especially from the perspective of a developer. Just there's a new primitive that has never been possible inside of a programming language before.
So meanwhile, while we have tech advancing in this realm, there's the other elements which, things are transitioning to a point where it's the experience economy. People want to experience new things. Same thing when it comes to sharing. People care about owning things less. They just want to have the ability to use it on demand, right? And so the future that I envision is one where, yes, it is tech fused with nature and in balance with, but more than anything, being able to do what you want when you want without the barriers.
I think that 10, 15 years from now, the trend is that we're all spending more and more time online, and more of the welfare of the value is going to go online as well. We're just in the right spot here, right? Where we build stuff on blockchain, where value transition is possible online. So huge parts of the economy are going to go online as well, and they're going to be facilitated by NFTs and digital assets. And I think it's just going to be a huge part of what we currently see in the physical world, in the traditional world, that's just going to go into digital assets on blockchain. And we're all going to be having a lot of fun with that.
Brilliant, thank you.
One last answer.
One last one.
And I'll be quick. I think I get always my vision of the future from Wired magazine in 1990, or late 1990s, I think. And I think of this concept of personal agents and the inverting of power from large platforms back to the user is what is really this whole thing is about. And the more transparency and digitization of information we get, we'll be able to encode our morality and our wishes into things that we want. So you can envision going to buy an object and your wallet telling you, are you sure you want that? You said you didn't want to put as much carbon into the world, and this uses 3 times as much. And I think that's the kind of stuff that's really interesting, the more information is available to your digital agents.
Hi, I just want to make an observation. As a tech columnist, I don't agree that people don't want to understand the technology. I'm a tech columnist for equities, and people really, really do want to understand the technology. The article I wrote on blockchain last year was so basic, but that got 100,000 reads. So it was the number 2 trending article in 2019. So people really do want to understand. So that's so I think education is a key to adoption, and that's what I try to do.
Thank you very much, Wendy. So we're coming to an end. It's been a huge day. I think we've been going for 10 hours. You've been an amazing last panel. Thank you very much. Every one of you are thought leaders. And I'd like to just finish by saying last year it was about ideas. This year we've seen so many real things being executed, and we're seeing major brands actually now starting to get interested in this space. My wish for the next 12 months is that we produce tools and we produce use cases so that everyone from social influencers to major brands to small business actually have the opportunity to create their own tokens for their audience and for their friends and to share with people who they work with. And that is my wish for the next 12 months. Next year, we may make this NFT week because we've had so many satellite events around today. There have been 4 or 5. This is my 7th presentation this week. So with all of your support and with your support, hopefully next year we'll go to NFT week. And Ian, thank you very much. It's been a great panel.
Can we please thank the panel? Can we thank Jody Rich? Can we thank all of our sponsors? Stand up and thank yourself. Clap for yourself. This was a great day. I'm very thankful to be part of it. That's it. The party's over. We're shutting it down.
And thank you to the amazing team who put this on. Cameron, where are you? Cameron Bale. Where are you?